testimony.
Thank you, Chairman McKenzie, Ranking Member Omar, and members of the subcommittee for the opportunity to testify today. AI is moving faster than any technology we've seen, and policymakers are being asked to keep up. Yet, we lack the data necessary to understand AI well enough to support innovation while protecting workers. On the one hand, AI is just yet another iteration of past technologies. It replaces some tasks, it enhances others, and its productivity gains will increase incomes and raise long-run standards of living. On the other hand, the pace of AI's onset and its adaptive capabilities are unprecedented. The computer took nearly a half a century to become a mainstay in American businesses and households. And yet, within 2 months, ChatGPT had 100 million users, and today more than half of the workforce is employed at firms that uses AI. And whereas robots need software updates to improve, AI can often learn and improve on its own. But even as AI has some human-like abilities, it has extreme physical limitations, and it can't think beyond the data that it has access to. So while AI could summarize patient records and even prompt questions for doctors and nurses, AI can't treat patients. Moreover, AI simply won't be cost-effective for many uses. While we know that AI is changing many workplaces, we still lack data on where it's being used, what tasks it's affecting, how it's changing hiring and productivity. This lack of data makes it hard for lawmakers to design effective and forward-looking policy, and it makes it hard for employers to know what investments to make and hard for workers to know what skills to pursue. To begin remedying this, I suggest 2 steps. First is to direct the Census Bureau to expand its Business Trends and Outlook survey to collect more detailed information on AI use, including where it's being deployed, such as customer service, logistics, or compliance, and then how it's affecting employment, hours, and skills needed. And second, since AI more often replaces tasks as opposed to entire jobs, policymakers should direct the Bureau of Labor Statistics to create a comprehensive task database that's capable of tracking how AI is affecting tasks, productivity, and workforce demands. The BLS already has a foundation for this in its Occupational Requirements Survey, which contains millions of task classifications. These 2 survey expansions could serve as a foundation for an AI workforce research hub as proposed in the Trump administration's AI Action Plan. And lastly, while AI brings uncertainty, the greatest risk isn't that AI will harm workers, it's that policy will fall behind or overreact, limiting innovation and ceding leadership to other countries. We should not approach AI with fear, but with a commitment to better data, better understanding, and better policy. Thank you. Thank you for that question. As a fellow parent of teenagers, I share your concerns, and yes, this is why I point some to the measurement issue too, is just understanding this better for those who are coming up and need to know what does the future look like for them. In terms of our concerns, and absolutely, China and our adversaries will outpace us if we decide to outregulate ourselves and to cede that innovation to them. And first and foremost, I think that the federal government's priority needs to be national security, and we cannot overregulate in areas where we would then just handicap ourselves against our adversaries. And so I think is a broad approach in the federal, first national security, but also we have to have the proper infrastructure in place. This is like past technological innovations, that if you don't have that infrastructure, it's not going to develop over time. And that's both the physical infrastructure and it's also the talent. It's speaking to the people and the younger workers who are coming up. And we do have some existing frameworks. The National AI Initiative Act of 2020 did prioritize the U.S., and they said they want to lead the world in the development and use of trustworthy AI systems for the public and private sectors as well. And I think that should broadly be the goal for the federal government.
Okay, and again, to talk about transformations, I was sitting here thinking, when I was in elementary school, I'm debating myself, or middle school, when you had to do a research paper, you headed to the library, and there was this big set of books that all looked the same, called Encyclopedia Britannica. I probably could go into the Library of Congress now and find them, but I would suspect, maybe I'll ask him tonight if he's even heard of it. And I suspect the answer would be no. Think about how Google changed our lives. That is the transformation that our workers will be going through today. My follow-up question to you is, I appreciate you've made a recommendation to direct the Bureau of Labor Statistics to establish a task-based classification system, which seems critical in understanding how AI is reshaping work. But at the same time, we've seen challenges with the existing BLS data. For example, they issue the contingent worker supplement to the current population survey relatively infrequently, and the data appears to significantly undercount independent contractors, which again has transformed the workplace, reporting roughly 12 million in 2023, despite other estimates close to 72 million, being off by a factor of 6. The BLS data also fails to include gig or app-based work arrangements. Given these gaps, what specific steps would you recommend Congress take to ensure that any new task-based system produces accurate, timely, and comprehensive data?
Thank you. Yes, and you point out that contingent worker survey has major gaps. It went a decade without collecting any information at that very time that we were seeing a big expansion. Because the contingent worker survey, it's not just contingent workers, which is defined as having a job that's maybe not certain beyond 6 months. It's the independent contractors, freelancers, gig workers, whatever you want to call them. There's been an explosion in that, whether it is full-time or part-time. We have potentially 70 million people working in this, and we don't have much data about them at all. So we need to have more regular collection and reporting on that contingent worker survey, but it might even be better to utilize another one. The Business Trends Outlook survey has 1.2 million businesses in it. It's collecting data every 2 weeks. We receive new reports on that, and there are ways to do this that minimize the burden on employers, and so I think we need to look to things like that.
Looking at raw jobs numbers, can you explain more about what that might look like?
Yes, most often AI is replacing specific tasks and not wholesale jobs. And we don't have the granular data to know which jobs are being most affected by it, which ones maybe 50% of the job is being replaced, which ones are being significantly enhanced and the job is becoming that much more productive. And so if we can use that existing data, there's millions of job classifications already out there in the Occupational Requirement Survey that are really not being used in many ways right now. But if you could employ that so that you can track specific jobs across industries, occupations, across time, then you can know what are the most in-demand skills. This will help educators, and this will also help when there is displacement so that we know what is the best job training types of resources that would help workers.
And certainly AI, as it grows, will be capable of being a greater asset all along the way, won't it? In doing exactly what you're saying. So thank you.
Exactly, and that's one reason when we hear about these massive job losses, I don't fear those. Basic definition of economics is that it's the allocation of scarce resources across unlimited wants and desires. There will be new things that are produced. We are not going to see a world in which humans do not work, and part of that is the basic economics, and it's also the way that humans were made. We have a desire, we were made to work and to make things productive and to be creative, and we will always be using them.
Yeah, and pure protectionism generally leads to lesser opportunities and inferior results as well.
The question I have for you, Ms. Greszler, is how are we going to get it into these people's heads out of the chute that we need more what used to be referred to as blue-collar jobs?
Well, I think we're seeing that now, and AI has hit home to people that some of the most valuable skills will be the ones that where you are not able to be replaced and are using your physical capabilities. But there's also evidence that those white-collar jobs, that certain tasks in them are being replaced, or maybe some of the entire jobs are being replaced. There was a study out of the Brookings Institute that said, actually, it looks like these people in those positions are the ones who are most capable of adapting. And so that's exactly what we would want to see. And I would also say that it's still going to take some time. Even the onset of the computer, it was a while before this was fully adapted within the workplace, and we're just not seeing these apocalyptic changes that we've been hearing from the other side right now. And so I think it is going to be slower in terms of the job transitions.
Thank you. I think you're to say that the people, in essence, the white-collar people are finding it easier to adapt.
If the federal government were to proceed with stifling innovation and advances in technology?
We lose out to our competitors. That has significant national security concerns. but also just for the economy. The U.S. is the leader in tech, and they're the leader in tech because we allowed for flexible growth and innovation, whereas you look at Europe, and they were the leader in regulation. And what happened as a result? The U.S. tech companies have 8 times as much value as the European companies, and we are seen as the global leader in that. And so I think we should not cede that to other countries, especially our adversaries.
Okay, thank you. And how can the federal government ensure that America continues to lead in AI innovation in the race against countries like China?
I think it starts with the infrastructure. We certainly don't want to be putting moratoriums on expansion in AI, and it's the physical infrastructure. We also need to make sure that our people have the capabilities to work with the AI, to understand it, and that gets into the different measurements and how do we ensure that everyone's coming through the pipelines has the correct education and training, and then just taking an approach to regulation that allows for flexibility and notices the value of innovation, what that will produce for Americans before trying to swipe it off before that growth can happen.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your responses, and I yield back.